Well, hello everybody, and a very, very happy new year to you. I hope you've had a restful time over December and are ready to ease yourself into the new year. But just remember, it is still winter, so it's no surprise if you don't feel completely inspired to bounce out of bed and greet the day today. And with that in mind, I thought let's do something cheerful, easy, and well, just, I don't know, a little bit sort of without too much focus on an end product. I think that's the most important thing. If you're starting watercolour this year, or if you've painted with me for a long time, my goal is to give you the tools to enjoy watercolour, but to enjoy the process and focus on that process, and not so much about the result, because the result will come if you've had a good time doing it. Whereas a lot of us focus on, oh, I've got this perfect image in my head, I want to get it down on the paper, and then there's always a bit of a difficult disconnect between that, and I feel it too. So with that in mind, I came up with a really fun, quite silly tutorial for you today, but with rather beautiful results. And like I said, I really didn't know that this was going to turn out like this. Sounds a bit mysterious? Let me explain. Grab your paints and let's get started. It may still be winter, but I want to look ahead to bright days and bright colours. And sometimes with watercolour, you can just get creative. So I'm going to use a size 8 brush, and I'm going to go through, I've decided I'm going to go through my watercolour palette on a little journey, and maybe you'll join me. So I'm just going to use brush strokes, simple brush strokes, to build up some flowers in a little piece without too much sort of plan or fuss. So I've started with lemon yellow and now I have buff titanium. And I'm going to continue on with cadmium yellow. Yellow ochre, and seeing how we can use the brush to build this composition. Sometimes the best thing you can do is sit down and paint with no plan. That's what I rather like about the reverse colouring books that I've started doing last year. They very much encourage no plan. So the only rule I have is that I'm going through my watercolour palette, and I will admit I didn't include raw umber. I'm sorry, raw umber, but to be honest, I don't tend to think of raw umber as really being in my palette. So I wonder what the order of the colours in your palette is going to lead to with this piece. I like to start off the new year with just something that's a little bit fun, because we need to just ease ourselves back into normal life, don't we? You may have been continuing to work over New Year and Christmas, and if that's the case, then maybe this is a moment for you to just pause and have a little break. And you see, I'm not even painting things with a huge amount of finesse. They're quite simple flowers, and I don't even really know what they are. but once I've used that colour I can't go back, which is making me feel a bit anxious, especially up here. Maybe, I don't know, should we just go straight down like that? There is black. I've got pure black to contend with. I've got an idea though. It was funny, I was just sitting here being like, what should I paint for New Year? And so it just goes to show that we're all sort of sitting here going, how do I do this again? And I'm absolutely loving this. This is great fun. So I do recommend trying it. And just try and, the one sort of tip I would give is you can go back up the page. It doesn't all have to be yellow at the top. And play around with the shapes and the size. Not every colour has to have a large part to play. I did spray all my colours with water before I began, in the hope that I could sort of continue painting quite fast so everything would bleed and blend. But again, even if that doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. And if you are maybe new to watercolour, welcome. You may have got a watercolour set for Christmas, or a paint your own calendar, or you might have tried the advent calendar in the run up to Christmas for the first time. So welcome. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to just enjoying being creative, playing around with watercolour, and this channel can be whatever you need it to be, really. Okay, so the black. I think maybe just a few dots here and there. Yeah, I like that. Cool. Move on. I'm going in a straight line. I've decided I don't want to go back on myself, so I'm Payne's greying it. But I did just get a bit of black in that Payne's grey, so I'm just picking it up, making sure I've got it there. So maybe a little. And even with this very large brush, you can make such lovely little sort of expressive flowers. You may never have painted like this before. You may be a more precise botanical painter. That's usually what I'm doing, but it's so important to play around with your materials, your tools, to have fun, to have no goal other than, in this instance, getting through the whole of your palette. Right, a different flower shape. Let's see, what should we go for? Wrong colour. Got to keep focused now. We're on the home straight. Now I've got my first green, what do I do with it? Well, make sure I get a nice sort of slender line, and I might just start one or two fine little lines, but nothing too much. I don't want it to feel like, oh, we've got to the greens, now we've just got to do stems, even though that is what I've done so far. I'd like to try and be a little bit more creative with it. So but of course you can't go back, so yeah, okay, nice. And we've got some Windsor blue, little turquoise. So I can now start sort of building my flowers sort of in and amongst those leaves now, which is quite good. So the sort of rule I set myself was just about the palette. I didn't really set any kind of rule about whether the colour had to continue down on the page. And actually what I really like is that there are tiny bits of the blues and purples and pinks further down, but they still feel like it's a nice continual piece. Now I think I'm going off the bottom of the painting, so I'm just going to move that up like that, and we'll keep going. So cobalt turquoise, space is becoming a bit of a premium, isn't it? So this cobalt turquoise feels a little bit like it's filling in the gaps, but I'm not sure what it is exactly. But then it is one of the last colours that is not a green. So let's add a little bit more of it in. Because what you don't tend to see is down here, I do actually have two kind of mystery colours, but we're not quite there yet. We've got Hooker's green, a nice little vibrant green. Then we have sap green, the absolute classic that is sap green, and maybe we'll do a few sort of serrated edge leaves. Green gold. I love green gold, very fond of this colour because it's just going to lighten things a little bit, and I think I'm going to treat it as a nice little sort of centre of some of my turquoisey flowers, as well as being just a lovely tone to add in. Okay, so we've just got oh god, I know what this is. This is a very, very sludgy blue that once was cobalt blue deep and now is a sort of strange hybrid colour that's a bit forgotten down in the base there, but that's okay. We can add some dots, some blobs. Quite like that. And then right down at the bottom is a colour called Mayan Blue Genuine, which is a beautiful colour and one that is woefully underused because it's right in the end of my palette, which does make me think I'm considering doing a whole new palette layout for 2025. What do you think? This palette has worked so hard this year, but it might just be time for a little refresh. So this is good, maybe a few lines on some of those leaves. Well, this has been all kinds of fun. I hope it's a nice bright injection of colour to what might be quite a dreary January 1st. So there we go, I'll just straighten it up on the page. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I really did, and I'm very pleased with the result. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. New Year's resolution, are you starting to paint this year? Well, if you subscribe, it's totally free and you will never miss another video. And of course, we have hundreds of videos for you to go back through. And if you want something a little more, don't forget you can look at my Patreon for more exclusive tutorials, interactive live streams, and all sorts of other wonderful perks. But for now, I will say Happy New Year to you, and I'll see you again soon.